Are you looking for a space where you will learn to improve your mental strength, emotional health, and heal your insecurities from the inside out? Take the first step to living a more meaningful life with the Better Me with Body by Bree podcast. I'm your host, Bree. I'm a certified personal trainer, entrepreneur, and mother of 3. I've helped empower thousands of women to take action through fitness, nutrition, meditation, personal development, and aligning thoughts with action. This podcast is for those who are ready to feel inspired and motivated to live a more purposeful life. Let's grow together. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, Jenna Rammell. She is amazing. I look up to her so much. Did I say your last name right?
You totally did, which was amazing because
Rammell.
because most people say it Rammell and they try to make it fancy, and it's not. It's from Idaho. It's Rammell.
Awesome. Well, I am so excited you're on. I look up to you so much. I love everything you stand for. I love that you're a champion of women and of light and truth and knowledge, and you're just such a genuine person. And I feel like so many of my listeners will benefit from you and your story. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I feel the same way about you. I've followed you for years, and I just love that you're bringing so much more to fitness than just fitness. You know, I feel like you're really giving women an experience of how to love themselves better. And that is something I'm really passionate about. So right back at you.
Thank you. Yeah. That's why we're going to make a great team.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So Jenna, can you tell everybody what you do, a little bit of a background of what you do and who you are?
Yeah. So I'm first off, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I have 4 kids, ranging from ages 12 to 2 and, 2 boys, 2 girls. And I've been online honestly, probably a decade now, which is crazy to me to think about. It's evolved from blogging to about children's lifestyle to just like personal Instagram to my Instagram platform now, which is Jenna's Kitchen, which started out in a very restrictive diet. And that's what I did was I shared kind of how I was losing body fat and how I was and what recipes I was doing that with. And so it's been interesting to evolve now to 10 years later, being on the kind of other side of the spectrum where I hardly post any recipes anymore, but I mostly just content create for women and for lifestyle and for their well-being and their health and their mental support. I just feel very passionately about helping women see themselves as important and valued and special. And that's kind of what I do now. So we run the Instagram and I run that myself. And then I have now a podcast, which I just released called Dear Jenna.
And it's amazing. It is so good. I've already listened to all your episodes. So go listen to it if you haven't already.
You're so nice. And it's just kind of a funny joke that I'm an expert in learning the hard way. So it's just an advice podcast from my perspective. And I'm such a learner. Like I crave learning, and it is fun for me to learn about myself, about other people. And so it's just kind of a reflection of the years of learning that I've been doing about the soul and how amazing we all are. So that's kind of where I am.
And it resonates so authentically from you because you can tell that you live it and it's just who you are. So it's very genuine when you talk about it. And I think that's why so many people gravitate towards you because of that, genuine feeling that we get that you care and you're so good at that. So today we're talking about kind of loving your body in all of its phases. And you've had quite a journey. I loved, you just did an amazing post about your journey and everything you learned. Can you talk a little bit about your journey with your body and diet and where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I know we don't have a ton of time, but I feel like
no, we do. Go into it. Do it all.
It's like a lot, I started off I have very, very vivid memories as a child looking at my cellulite and thinking it was gross, and it's really interesting because I talked about that in this post, is that my mom never dieted. Like, she never talked about that. It was not a part of our family conversations. Like, they were very healthy people. They still are. They run every day. I would just always see her put on her tennis shoes and go out and run, but it was never like, I'm doing this because I hate myself. It was just like, I felt the energy behind it with her. And it was like, it was time for herself to pour into who she was as a mom and as a teacher. And so it was a positive thing. So it's interesting that I just think it was my DNA. I just think I came this way. And then of course our learned experiences with school and little girls and celebrities and media and whatever is influencing us to feel like we don't fit in or we don't look good or our bodies are wrong or bad or too much. That was just something that just started off for me at a very, very young age. I have very little memories of me being at a pool where I didn't try to hurry and figure out how I was going to get my shorts on. I was going to get back in the pool and how I'd get out and everyone would see my butt. What would I do? Just that frantic energy of, and that was not learned behavior. It just came very naturally to me. So I have had to work against that for a long time because so much of what I saw it when I was dieting and doing every diet on the planet was a sense of belonging, was a sense of relief, was a sense of once I get to this place, then I'm for sure going to love myself and I'm for sure going to be able to be at peace. I remember feeling looking at other people whose bodies I envied, they just must have an easier life, right? That's just how it felt for me, is that,
yeah.
Have you ever felt that way?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's easier for them to be in social situations. They're more liked. They look better in outfits. That was kind of the mindset I was on. And so, my last diet was, I want to say 6 years ago, 5 years ago. So it was a long time coming. And I realized over this time that even when I was the fittest I ever was, and I was the lowest body fat percentage I ever was, that I was still unhappy with the result, with how I looked. And it was always tweaking and changing and wanting things to be different. And it just created such a friction in my heart and in my soul. And I just knew there was more to me than my body. I think honestly, I talked about this a lot. I don't even think it was a conscious effort of I'm just going to live better. I'm going to love myself better. It was literally I got tired of it.
Right.
The loop just wore me out.
It is exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting day in and day out.
After 30 years, I was I'm just really kind of I'm over this. I'm so over this loop of oops, I ate this cookie. And oh gosh, summer's coming or whatever. And it's just constantly taking up all this bandwidth and all this brain space and all this creativity I could be pouring into and love. And it's just you don't realize until you do the work to stop these thoughts and to redirect them, how much of your life it takes up to hate yourself. And it just does. And so, I started down the path of energy work, truthfully, and rewriting and reprogramming my soul and my mind. And that's why I'm really passionate. Affirmations feel this kind of outward thing, that this elusive fake thing, but we think a million thoughts a day. And if 90% of them are bad, that's what we start to believe about ourselves. And so I feel that's where I started, was just trying to have better thoughts.
I love that. And it's almost Two, going back, I'm going to address a couple things that you said because you had so many good golden nuggets in there. But I think just like what you said, if you aren't happy now, you won't be happy when you have the perfect body. And before this call, I was just saying to you how I will have some clients and they'll get down to like 10% body fat. They look amazing and they're still not happy. They're still tearing themselves apart or saying like, well, yeah, but like my stomach could be leaner, or I could have, well, now I lost the weight, but now I don't have a butt. And now I want, and so it's like, it's never enough. It's this like elusive, like dream that doesn't exist. Like it's okay to want to improve yourself, but exactly what you said, where you're like, I thought it would all be better once I had my body, my dream body, and it doesn't. And I've learned from experience too, like when I was competing, same thing. I got down to 10% body fat and I was still picking myself apart. And I'm like, okay, there is something wrong here. Like that is not okay. And, that's when you learn it is all internal. It is all how you see yourself and learning that now. And I'm super passionate teaching my clients that. And I know you are too, teaching women that. So how can they start if they're like, yes, I'm in that spot. I realize that I remember one time I was like, I wonder how much of my thoughts is around what I'm eating, how much I'm exercising, if I'm going to fit in those pants. Like, I wonder how much. And when I paid attention, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the majority of my thoughts were like that. And so what if somebody feels that way and they understand like, okay, this might have been taken too far. I might become a little bit obsessive about this. Where did they start to try to change their thoughts?
Well, I love what you said. It's just, it starts with paying attention because it becomes such a home base for you that you are not even realizing that you're doing it because it's just what you're familiar with now, right? Like thinking about the pants, thinking about what you're eating, whatever, when you're going to work out next, like it becomes so familiar and it becomes what I see as like home-based thoughts. It's kind of easy for your brain to fall back there because it's used to it. That's what it thinks about. And it's not being challenged to think about anything else or redirect it to think about anything else. So it's just going to be like, oh, this is comfortable for me. I've thought this a million times. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this. And so you have to first pay attention, like you said, and then you have to flex the muscle of redirecting the brain every single time it happens. And it is exhausting. It is like, I like to think that we don't push the thoughts out. We see them. We say hello. We honor them. We say, why is this showing up for me? What is this an invitation to learn? Where do I want to go next? We are so much more in control than we want to let ourselves think. Like I used to think that this is just the way that it was for me, that hating myself was like just the package I came in. And we have the strength and the ability to redirect our brain to think we are awesome and perfect and amazing and still have those goals, but never weigh our value on what our appearance is. And so I think that for me is the first place to start is reaching. I always say we reach for our next best thought. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't. And it also feels very awkward at first to talk about loving yourself or accepting yourself or thinking that you're beautiful or I feel confident. Like those aren't things you feel yet. And so it feels like they're not truths, but the brain has a really amazing way of making our thoughts true. And that can go either way for us, right? The negative thoughts can be true or positive thoughts can be true. And so we have to make the choice to move into the next best thought over and over and over again until it starts to be more default. And I still have negative thoughts about myself. Absolutely. Like I still get in a swimsuit and think for a second, wish I had dieted or whatever it is that crosses my mind. Because it's still familiar for me. And I have to do the work of saying, I see that. What is that an invitation to learn? I invite you to leave. Here's my next thought, which is I'm I accept myself the way that I am, and I'm confident in who I am as a person, or whatever those thoughts look like. So I also feel like journal writing is really, really, really therapeutic for everyone. You can write down the hateful thoughts, write them down, leave them there, send them away. Write down loving thoughts. Have those at your disposable, have them on your mirror, have them on your phone, have them wherever you're looking all the time. So that when your brain gets lazy and wants to go back to the old thoughts, you're reminded to work hard for the new thoughts. And I think that's all I did was I just was desperate to not feel that way anymore. And so I was willing to do whatever it took.
And it's interesting because like when I look at you, not one time does it cross my mind like, oh, this is what her body looks like. I'm sitting there going, man, Jenna is a boss. Like, look at what she's created. Look at her empire. Look how she uplifts people. Like, that's all I see, And so it's interesting how we beat ourselves up about how we look, where other people look at how you make them feel, how you uplift and inspire and everything else.
Yes.
And I don't want to like
that. And
oh, sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't like ever want to get like too preachy, but I do feel like when we have these thoughts, these negative thoughts like this, that it is a tool that sometimes can be used against us to prevent us from seeing who we truly are and from seeing our real true ability and our higher self. And it is a tool of distraction and frustration and manipulation that can come from the adversary so that we beat ourselves up. And then we get so frustrated and so obsessive about our appearance that we don't see anything else. And we don't see how we can fully grow and learn and, be these like powerful, amazing warriors because we have all of this self-doubt. And I honestly feel like some of those thoughts aren't even our own. And it might sound weird, but I do. I feel like, I feel like it could be other, like the adversary, other ways of like, oh, you're not good enough. You don't deserve that. You're lazy. And it is a way of being attacked to take us away from our true power.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like for me, like however you package, negative energy, whether it's, adversary, Satan, negative entities, whatever it looks like for you, that exists. And that is kind of those polar opposites, like the good, the good angel, the bad angel, those are real things in our lives. And I feel like I could never be gotten to in the sense of like, I was never going to rob a bank or I was never going to lie or like, I don't know, be a terrible person, but you could definitely get to me with my self-worth. And
yes.
that's how I was gotten to. And it kept me from healthy relationships. It kept me from serving in the world. It kept me from, loving that postpartum phase that is so special and sacred in those first few pregnancies. Like I had the blessing of being able to rewrite that for myself and like experience my fourth baby in a new, different way. And it was like, gosh, what if I had like done this for myself so long ago? I try not to stay there because it's all serving us, right? And it's all for a purpose. And I think I'm exactly where I know I'm exactly where I need to be for where I am. But that's hard for me to like accept into my life as like, oh man, that would have been a lot easier had I just been nicer to myself.
Yeah, well, you don't realize it until you're like, wait a second. Like this is when you take a step back, like you said.
Yeah.
It even happens like with anxiety and depression. Like even my husband was saying like, I feel like I was being attacked through like anxiety. And he was like, I felt like a lot of those thoughts were not my own thoughts. And it was like, I had to be like, you know what? No, I'm not allowing this anymore. Like I have control over this. I have power over this. And like you said, we're so much stronger than we think that we are. And anyway, it's just so cool. I just think it's so amazing once you realize it.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to me because I had the same experience with postpartum. With one of my babies, I put so much pressure on myself to get back that I didn't enjoy it. It was so sad. And I was like, it's an inconvenience. Like, I was like, this is such an inconvenience to have my body ripped apart and then I have to put it back together again. And I have to start all over after every single baby. And like, it's sad that I had those thoughts, but I admit I did. And I was like, oh, I have to restart every time. And this is such a pain. And you miss the beauty of having that newborn baby and that special gift. And it's taken away. And I feel like that's definitely a tool to distract us from what really matters.
Yeah. And you don't get that time back. And it's a time when, like, I just wish I'd used more excuses in like those postpartum phases where I was just like, yeah, heck yeah, I'm going to freaking eat this brownie and feel great about it because I'm feeding another human and how cool am I? And like, I'm a warrior and you know what I mean? Or I'm going to take this nap. Instead, like, we just believe that there's going to be some trophy at the end of this life for just beating the hell yourself up. Like, just like, you don't get one. You don't get one. And,
yes.
You know, we talk about like life being too short, but really it's too long to hate yourself too. Like, it's too long of a life to live, like just hating every move that you make. And this plays into every area of your life because no matter how good of a person you are, you're going to have people that don't like what you did, that think you were dishonest, that think you were greedy, that think you were selfish, whatever it looks like. And it's like, you have to choose what your truth is and how you want to live your life, or else you're just going to go wherever the wind blows. If every thought someone had about you was true, can you imagine what every thought you have about yourself, if it was true? Like, it's not true. So
right.
Deciding what your own truth is absolutely the most important thing to do. And I love what you said about like, you don't see my body. And it's so funny looking back, I have always been thin. Like, even after babies, I mean, yeah, I gained quite a bit of weight, like 50 pounds and just a fine amount of weight. It's not whatever, but like, I look at my body and I'm probably postpartum, like a size 12. But over time, I always get back to like size 8, size 6, sometimes a size 4, somewhere in there, right? It's like looking back on these pictures now, I'm like, oh, you were always thin. Like, you just didn't even know it. Mm-hmm. Like, and it's kind of ridiculous to me, like, to look back on those pictures and just be like, all I could do was just hate myself. It's all I could do. And yet,
you're like, well, dang, you looked awesome. Like, and I still was complaining.
Yes.
I know.
Like, I never was that person. And so that's what I'm trying to say here is like, I believed I was fat. Like, that I would have said I am a fat person. Like, and that feels crazy to me to consider because when we're looking at it, when we've gained weight, we look at thinner people and think they never feel that way. And it's not. I can say as a person who by standards is thin in the world, I felt fat because that was a choice I was making over and over and over again in my brain. It's just crazy.
Well, I also love how you talk about gratitude and how it's the highest form of frequency and how powerful it is. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, did I release that? I think I released that podcast where I was kind of talking about like, when I was talking to a mom that she was saying that she hates being a mom. And I was like, I get it, girl. And there's almost this like toxic gratitude that happens, right? Where it's like, if you're grateful, you're not supposed to ever have pain or sadness or feel bad. And that's not it. Like, that's not the gratitude I'm talking about. It's gratitude that invites you to consider and to live in a more joyful place. It does not mean you're not valid. You're not supported. You're not honored in the pain that you're experiencing. It just is a choice to move into gratitude because it will then move you into joy. And it just always, always does. It works perfectly every single time because we can have those thoughts of sadness and loneliness and fear. And those are real, and no one's saying they're not real. But when we choose to look at the things we're grateful for, it's just amazing to me what unlocks and what peace unlocks, because we do always have so much to be grateful for.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
Especially with our bodies. Like, they're doing and presenting, they're doing the things that we want them to do for the most part. You talk to people who have chronic illness or anything like, cancer or anything, their bodies, they can't trust their own bodies. And so to think that some extra fat made me feel like I was in a body that was broken and damaged, it's so sad for me to think about those years I lost, because I was in a perfectly working body. And I wish I had been more grateful for that.
And it's also relative. Like, even I was a fitness instructor. I mean, I was like 18% body fat, but I would look at competitors and I'd be like, oh, but I'm not there, which is so funny, because then other people maybe were looking at me thinking, I wish I looked like her, or someone's looking at you thinking, I wish I looked like you, so it is also relative. And I love how you say that you're not going to be perfect overnight. It's not like a switch that all of a sudden you don't have to worry about anymore. And it's something that you have to constantly be practicing day in and day out. I love that. And I love how real you are about the struggle, that you say, I still have times where I doubt myself, or that I have trouble with it too. And so do I, like, I'll wake up and be like, oh man, I'm not feeling super good about myself today, but I can change that. And so I love that. I love that you give the power back to us. I have one more question for you. How do you do it all? Like, how are you so creative and have 4 children and run this like amazingly successful business? And how do you do it all?
I don't do it all. And I know that's like a really like lame answer, but I have a ton of help. And my husband works full time with me. We have a nanny. I have someone that helps me with my laundry, like I have someone that cleans my house. Like, I feel like we do such a disservice as women to hide the help that we have, or to feel ashamed of having help at all. And I tell my friends who are stay-at-home moms all the time, like, you deserve a babysitter more than I do. Like, I really feel like this work of valuing yourself allows you to move into so many cool opportunities where you're able to say, hey, that's not a strength for me. Who can I hire, or who can I bring in to help me with that? Instead of feeling like you're the one schlepping all the time in your business, in your personal life, whatever it is. And so I don't do it all, and I fall short in a lot of things. And I'm constantly reworking what brings me joy. In fact, just the other day on Instagram, I got a ton of questions on an outfit. I don't know if you saw me post this, but I posted and I said, this is where they're from. I don't want to, like, it doesn't bring me joy to post the links. And it's kind of the first time that I typically don't do any fashion, but like, if people really want where it's from, I'll do it. I thought, this is so time consuming. I don't like it. It doesn't bring me joy. But like, it's great. I want to tell you where this is from. I totally get it, because I shop off Instagram myself. So like, I want to know where things are from. So it was just cool to set that boundary for myself, where I've lived a life. I'm a people pleaser, and I'm not recovering. I am trying to be a healthy people pleaser. That's, I guess, what I want to do, is just be more boundaried in that work. But as you learn to love yourself, you also learn to value yourself, and you value your strengths and your talents and your time, and you don't give them away freely and to whatever, And so it's just a give and a take. Like, you won't find me volunteering in my kids' school. You just won't. But I'm happy to send the supplies for the party, and I'm happy to help donate some money here and there if they need support in the school. And so I've had to let go of that shame of doing it all, because you just can't, and you won't. And it's important to find where your gifts are and to value them and to show up amazingly in them, and then just let go and release the things that really don't call for you.
I love that. You're protecting your energy.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love that you are like, I have the same exact thought process as you. Is I'm like, I'm not good at that. That will take me twice as long to do. I'm going to hire someone who's really good at that, and then I can be creative, and I had a lot of guilt when I first started working and started my business too, where I was like, oh, I have to volunteer at the school, and I have to do all the things, and I have to be good at all of it. And it wore me into the ground. And the second I let go of that, it made me feel so much better. And it was actually really refreshing to hear you be like, I won't be volunteering in the class. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. I'm not that kind of mom either. And I feel guilty for not being that kind of mom. So it looks so different.
Although now I wish I could volunteer.
I know.
They're not letting volunteer. And I'm like, oh, I take it all back. Like, I wish I could come and be at the school and yeah, but like, that's the thing is like, I just had to say like, and with church things and things like that, I have to just say, you know what, I'm working and I'm a mom of 4 and they come first for me. And so like any outside kind of work has to be really evaluated. And now I'm moving into this place of like, well, where's Jenna in all this equation, right? Because it was like, well, I put the kids first and then work or my marriage or, there's 8 or 9 things I'm putting first. Let's put those in quotations. And then it's like, well, where am I in this equation? And I feel like I'm now trying to reframe that part of my brain where it's like, it's okay for me to go to a 7:00 yoga class and have Andrew figure out the bedtime situation. Like, good luck. Bye. And those things are really hard for me to like let myself do because I'm away from my kids working. And so that dance is just constantly moving, but that's why I am so passionate about finding who you are, believing who you are, trusting who you are, and loving who you are, because it transforms every area of your life, not just your body. It transforms your marriage, your relationships, your friendships. You begin to see that like whatever's in your life should feel good. And that doesn't mean they're not challenging things, but you should feel good in your body. And that should be the most important thing, is to feel good in your body.
Man, I couldn't have said it better myself, Jenna. You're amazing.
Oh, you're amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom and all of your life lessons. I love learning from other strong women who have so much to share. Can you just share with our listeners where they can get any of your resources or where they can find you?
So you can follow me. Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram, Jenna's Kitchen. People think kitchen's my last name, but it's just that I started out sharing recipes that I don't really anymore. But I've kept it because I like to think that the kitchen is the heart of our home. And I love to think of people just sitting at our island and talking with me and us and our family. And that's why I've kept the name, because to me, it's the heart of a person and a home, So, Jenna's Kitchen on Instagram, Dear Jenna on Apple, Spotify, Google for the podcast. And then, we sell a skin serum and essential oils on thedailyessentialco.com, which is something we didn't even touch on, but yeah.
Yes. She has amazing, it's called Skin Bay.
Yes.
So go check out that as well. I'll link all of your links in the show notes so people can refer back to you and just learn from you and see how awesome you are. So thank you for all of your time. I know you're very busy and I appreciate you.
I have a question for you before we end.
Yeah.
Can I ask it?
Of course.
Okay. So how do you still have goals and stay in this place? So I have been like, because I've gone on this, the pendulum has swung so far in the other direction. I now work out because like mentally, it's just like, it keeps me sane. I absolutely have to do it. Before it was like a punishment. I never understood where people like said I work out to feel good. It just never like resonated with me. But it's okay to have goals. So tell me, how do you teach people to have goals without moving into the bad? Let's not say bad, into the negative energy.
I love that. So are you saying your goals are to change your body? Or your goals are to feel healthy? Like what goals are you talking about? Or any goals?
No, I mean, I think my goals are always to feel healthy and to feel strong. And I feel like I'm doing that. But like, I also understand that food is fuel. And so like, I know what it's like to like be eating super well and clean and feel how that feels in my body. I think I want to know how you teach your clients to have goals, because those are good. Because I think what happens with the self-love conversation is like, I'm never suggesting don't work out, because for me, working out is absolutely a mental health game and makes me feel so much better, but also so does food. And so how do you disassociate like good and bad food, but you start to recognize this is what makes me feel good? So does that make sense? So how do you okay, answer that. That's a very long question. I feel like that's the crossroads I'm at, is I'm like, I don't dare do anything with my food because it's like, it feels too scary for me right now, because I've just only been not dieting for a few years, you know?
Yes. So I'll start with the body part and then I'll go into the food part. So with the body part is I'm always teaching my clients to figure out the motivation behind the goal. So why, let's say that their goal is that they want a six pack. Like, why do you want a six pack? What is so important about getting a six pack? And what do you think is going to happen when you get it? And then usually it has nothing to do with the six pack. It's like, oh, actually, no, I just want to feel more confident, or I want to, actually, it's because I want to be able to play with my kids and run and go skiing with my kids and not be out of breath. But they feel like they have to say a six pack. But when we get deeper and deeper into their actual why, it has nothing to do with the six pack. And so I think making sure that you know the motivation behind why it's so important to you, and shifting that it doesn't always have to be physical. It can be that you want, for me, like I work out because I love the feeling of being strong. Like, I don't know why, but it makes me feel like I can conquer anything. I love the feeling of lifting heavy weight and like feeling my body and my blood pumping. And it's such like an endorphin high. And every time I get a new PR, it makes me feel like, man, I'm getting stronger and I'm accomplishing something. And so it actually has nothing to do with how I look, but the results actually come as a byproduct of those other goals that I'm doing. So I try to teach my clients, I call them daily mental wins. So I'll say like, okay, because I'm certified in behavioral change as well. And then I'm also a mindfulness and meditation coach. So I try to incorporate that with my training, where I'll be like, okay, so let's focus on your daily mental wins and your daily habits, and then the results will come. So maybe your daily mental win is that you want to start including vegetables. You want to try to eat vegetables with every meal. And instead of focusing on how to restrict, like I feel like for you, and tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like for you, maybe you've had such a negative like connotation with dieting in the past that it feels like a negative thing. Whereas if you were to like say, learn how to, instead of restrict, it has nothing to do with restriction. It has everything to do with fueling your body with nutrients. And so instead of what can I not eat, we focus on everything you can eat and how amazing it will make you feel. And so I really learned that concept when I went through my whole journey of healing my gut, because I was just like you. I love food. Oh, I still love food. I am like you. Like, food brings me so much joy. And in my family, we would use food Yeah, and we would use food as like a celebration. Like on the weekends, it's like, let's go get ice cream. Let's make
Oh
cookies.
yeah.
Who wants caramel popcorn? Let's do a movie and caramel popcorn. Like all of my friends make fun of me because everything revolves around food. It is fun for me. And it's really hard for me to think like, oh, I can't have that food. I don't like that thought or that feeling. It makes me feel restricted and I don't like it. And so when I was trying to heal my gut, I noticed, oh my gosh, I am so fatigued. I am so tired. I feel bloated all the time. I feel constipated. I have brain fog. And I'm like, what is going on with my body? And I figured out it was my gut health. And I had to start eating way more vegetables, a lot more fat. I actually started eating more food than I was used to, but it was whole foods, and it was actually more of like a Whole30 where I tried to limit sugar and stuff, but I wasn't focused on what I couldn't eat. I was focused on my main goal was get as many nutrients as possible into my body so that it could heal. That was my thought process. It wasn't like, don't eat this food. It was just eat as much good food as possible. And then it was crazy. I started feeling so much better that I was like, I feel like I'm on caffeine pills. I've never slept this good in my life. I've never been so clear with my thinking. I was happier. I had way more energy. I wasn't bloated anymore. I had better digestion. And so it was like addicting. That feeling was addicting. I was like, I love how I feel when I eat this nutrient dense food. So then my mind shift switched to where yes, I can have the cookie if I want it, but I also know that the cookie is going to make me feel sluggish. I know that. And so now, because I've done that experiment with my body, when I see the cookie, I'm like, maybe I'll save it for like an actual special occasion, or maybe like I don't really want to feel sluggish today. I want to feel really good. I want to have energy. And so it's now not coming from a place of trying to be smaller. It's coming from a place of wanting to be the best version of myself because I know I have so much to accomplish. I don't have time to feel sluggish and fatigued and brain fog and like, I don't have time for that. Like I have too much to accomplish. So it's completely shifted. And now it's so much easier to stay motivated and have goals because it's from a place of love and learning and growing. And it's exciting, That was a very long answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. No, I love that. I love that so much because I do feel like I'm moving into that space now where it's like, I know how sugar makes me feel, so I don't really eat it. And I just have to trust that like, that's not me restricting myself. That's just me choosing what's best for my body. And I know that like sugar I just feel terrible on it. But like grains, I feel great on, and I feel like there's a place for restrictive dieting. And especially when you're trying to heal your gut, it teaches you what your body responds to best. And all your body wants to do is have you pay attention. Right. So
exactly.
I think that's where it's not really a struggle for me. I just find myself avoiding things sometimes. And I'm like, oh man, is that old learning? And I think to myself, no, like that is a choice. I have to just trust myself that like I am making the choice, not from a body perspective, but from absolutely like a feel good perspective. So I love all those thoughts you shared.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be like we see a lot of intuitive eating right now and self-love and body positivity. And those are great. But I feel like sometimes people take them to the extreme where they're like, don't ever deny yourself anything, like if you want to eat it. Like, I feel like that's kind of the extreme where instead we could stop and be like, well, actually, how's that going to make me feel? Like, am I going to have a headache all day after I eat that? Or I actually notice I feel better when I eat higher fats, or maybe if I'm going to eat bread, like I love eating Dave's Killer Bread because it has quinoa and amaranth and spelt and all of these healthy grains that are going to give you so much nutrients. So it's like, yeah, eat the bread, but I'm like, I'm going to eat one that's actually going to help my body, So it's just looking at it from that perspective, I think changes everything. It changes your whole mentality. And when you're moving from that place, it's like starting a business. Like you have such a deep why of this is your calling and this is why you're doing it. So even when you're tired and frustrated, you keep going because you know your calling, you know your why. And it's the same. It's the exact same with your health and your body.
Yeah, I love that. It's just a choice.
It is, yeah. And knowing that like some diets are toxic and knowing like, oh, that, that didn't work for me. But it doesn't mean that you can't choose, healthier options. It's a form of self-love. Choosing healthier options is a form of self-love, and it doesn't have to be a negative thing. So yeah.
Boom. There's your answer. I love that so much. Thank you.
I'm so glad you asked that question.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that because I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about right now because I love the body positivity. I love intuitive eating. I love it all. I just feel like sometimes it gets twisted to be an unhealthy thought process. So I'm so glad that you talked about that. Mm-hmm. See, look, we're already such a good team.
Yes, we are for sure. We could do this again. I'll have you on my podcast.
Yeah, I would love that. All right, guys. Well, you know where to find Jenna. She's a peach. You will love everything about her. She has amazing content. She's awesome. So thank you so much for coming. Go back to your 4 children and building your empire.
Thank you so much. And for dealing with my technical issues. Thank you.
All right. See you, Jenna. Thank you for joining us in today's episode. If you liked the content and want to hear more, remember to hit that subscribe button and write a review. As a small business owner, I appreciate it more than you know. If you are looking for a program to help with self-confidence, to lose weight, get in shape, and work on your mental, physical, and emotional health, check out my training programs on www.bodybybree.com. My team and I help to hold you accountable through the Body by Bree app, where you log in to see all your workouts, custom meal plan made specifically for you and your needs, and communication through the messenger. You are never alone when you're on the Body by Bree training program. Click the link in the show notes to get more information on how to transform your life from the inside out.